all of a sudden you're in the dungeon, and you're like, well, I guess I have to smack things with my staff as a sorcerer. I got nothing else going for me. Finally on the show today, we have a games you didn't think we'd play, and we're going to be talking, Alex, about a Diablo game.
Is it the one everyone's talking about?
No! No, it's not. Sorry. No, I am not wading into Diablo Immortal. and at this present time, have no interest in doing so.
We might cover that at a later date if we feel it warrants our input on it.
If I have the constitution and the time. So probably won't. But here's the thing. No, actually, I went way back to a game that I had never played before, the original Diablo.
Same. I owned it. I tried it after I had played Diablo 2.
Yep.
And I tried Diablo 1 because I was like, wow, Diablo 2 is really good.
It is.
And then I went to try Diablo 1 and went, I hate this.
Yeah, it is not the same as Diablo 2.
It's like, I would like to run. Why am I walking everywhere?
Yeah, and why do they make it so hard to actually access all of the menus and spells and everything like that? This was a problem. Now, technically, I got the Diablo plus Hellfire, and in case you were wondering about that, there are apparently additional quests. It's, they're very generous when they say that it allows for high definition. That's a real generous statement about high definition. I don't know if I could really claim that. The pixels, the pixelation looks very crisp, I guess is what I could say. And then also,
high definition of 800 by 600?
Yeah, well, no, technically it's like it can do 1920 or something like that, but it still looks just as pixelated as it ever did. It's just, I guess, in a larger frame. But then the other thing that it does is you probably remember that there's like the 3 basic classes, which are like the sorcerer and the fighter and the rogue or something like that.
Probably the like with the paladin or the warrior, and then the magic user, and then the ranged user.
Yeah, there is essentially like your long range, your short range, and your spellcaster. But then they throw into the mix when they get to the Hellfire another class, which is the monk. The monk actually comes into play here. I thought, well, since I'm here, I might as well start by playing the monk.
Of course, that is what you do.
I don't recommend it. It's not great. I hate to tell you this, that it's more of like the dexterity melee build, but not great. Can't hit for shit. And just did not do very well. I will probably have a little video running around this time where I did get to the butcher in the cathedral, trying to do this with my monk, whose big benefit is supposed to be that they can hit pretty consistently. Like, they don't hit for damage, because they got the little staff that does like 2 to 4 damage or something like that. Mm-hmm. But the idea that you can hit a lot and very, consistently without missing. I have a compilation where I got to the butcher goes, fresh meat, comes out with this thing, and you just watch as the monk and the butcher just keep swinging at each other, and just you hear no contact coming between the two of them until eventually you just die because the butcher got in 3 or 4 actual hits on you and you're dead. And I tried it over and over again, and I was like, yep, this doesn't work for me. I don't know why I have this. And then decided to try the sorcerer, and the sorcerer is definitely better because it can cast firebolt.
Of course, that makes everything better.
It can cast a firebolt at things. The one problem is what happens when you run out of mana, because there's no regeneration in this. Then you have to find so basically, if you don't have a potion of mana, and you obviously don't have the regeneration or a spell that can recharge it, all of a sudden you're in the dungeon, and you're like, well, I guess I have to smack things with my staff as a sorcerer. I got nothing else going for me. But I was interested in it because I was familiar with playing Diablo 2 for an inordinate amount of time.
Same.
Diablo 3, to a slightly lesser degree, but I spent a lot of time with that too. I was curious about the origins of it because I knew people that had played it. And it's interesting to go back and to see, like, Deckard Cain, to see Wirt, because all you know from Diablo 2 is that there's a leg.
And he's dead.
It's Wirt's leg and he's dead. I did not know Wirt was like a young boy who would sell you special equipment and had the artificial peg leg or whatever. But that's apparently his story, and now he's also dead in the later games, so...
Well, Tristram got destroyed, so... yeah.
So there's that. Yeah. But anyway, going through the cathedral, realizing pretty quickly that the scope of the game is much more limited than later games were. Because in the later games you had the town, and then you would get out into the outskirts of the town, and then there'd be dungeons inside of it. But yeah.
Wasn't Diablo 1 basically go into the cathedral and go down?
You keep going down level after level into the cathedral, yeah. And by the time you get to level 2 is where you're supposed to interact with the butcher. And then, like, levels beyond that, there's other challenges too. And eventually, I guess at the bottom, there's a Diablo. And you can fight the Diablo. And hopefully win. Although that, apparently, from what we know from later games, doesn't really hold.
I mean, you win.
Only to become what you sought to destroy.
You were the chosen one.
You were the chosen one, sorcerer. You had the high ground. You had to go down into the cathedral. You could have stood on the steps. But at any rate, yeah, so I did try those 2 archetypes. I did not try the other character classes because I kind of figured, well, I've tried the melee, and now I've tried the long-range spellcaster, and I'm seeing problems with how the mana system is built. There's also not nearly as much in the way of what you can do with spells and abilities. You don't have a lot. Your spells are handled with just the mana, and you pretty much just pick them up through spell books you collect in the world, and you can only have one of them equipped at any time, which I found was a very bad way to do this, because every time I said to myself, oh, maybe I'd like to pick a new spell, you have to go into a menu and change what the active spell or ability is so that you can cast it. And I'm sitting there like going, wasn't there a thing in other games where I could just hotkey like 8 of these abilities so that I could just use them whenever? Yeah, there were. Not in one. That you pick from a list of the one thing you can do that's a special thing you can do. And if you don't like it, get ready to, while enemies are trying to hit you, go into the spell lists and choose. It brought back those bad visions of, like, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, where you're in the battle arenas never stop, but in order to access any of your abilities, you have to go through this tier list like menu while you're running around the battlefield trying to get away from people. And I'm like, I never liked that version of how they do spells.
Yeah, that's not so great.
No, let me have a few that I actively... when it came to Ni no Kuni, I kept thinking to myself, okay, what is the one that I can access by literally just pushing A on the first, A on the second tier, A on the third, and then I don't have to scroll down. Like, can I set it so that the one thing I really want to do to attack is just like the first option, then the first option, then the first option, and then I can attack. Yeah. So I tried to get used to that, but Diablo, it's actually even worse because I have to go into a scroll list and I have to choose between the things that are active. And then when it comes to the melee combat, you really just have the one option of clicking on the thing and going there and keep clicking on it until it goes away and dies.
Then click somewhere else.
Maybe because the graphics have not aged particularly well. In fact, definitely because the graphics haven't aged very well. It is also very difficult to tell what is on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
It is very muddy, and it is very difficult to see, like, through all the pixelated corpses of the demons that you're fighting, if that's a potion or anything like that. They also make them quite small in the game, and you have fairly limited storage space, and in general, it's, if you were playing the later Diablo games, like, these are great, I love this hack and slash and ARPG in action, I should go back and play the original, not recommended. Don't recommend it. You will not get a better understanding of the world from it. You will not find it interesting, because you can tell that they looked at Diablo, they realized that that's really just a template for the idea, and then when they got to Diablo 2, that's really where they expanded upon it.
Yeah.
It does feel like there's a lot of series that had great concept for the first iteration, and then it wasn't until like the second game where it's like, oh, now it's an actual series. Like this happened with Assassin's Creed as well. If you play the original Assassin's Creed, it's like, this feels like proof of concept. Once they get to 2, it's like an actual game. An actual game you can play. Diablo very much falls into that territory. Did you have a similar impression with the time that you spent with Diablo, or?
I didn't spend much time with the first one because I had already spent time with Diablo 2.
Right.
It was very much so a bit of, what the fuck is this?
Yep.
This is nothing like the other game. I don't want to play this.
Right, exactly. It is even the kind of thing where I'm kind of like going, can I ask for a refund on this, and maybe I'll get something else with the money? I did get it on GOG, so I actually think I have the time to say I did not like this. Sorry, can I not have this anymore? I'll buy something else from you, I swear. I have other ideas of what I'd like. Sunless Sea is on sale. I'll get that. That would be fun.
There you go.
Yay. It's cheaper. It's cheaper. So yeah, while I'm a fan of going back to like old school games and seeing the origins of them, I'm also of the mindset that that doesn't make them inherently good. I keep looking every time I'm on a game list at Daggerfall, because I have Arena and Daggerfall, the original, Elder Scrolls games, and it's like I'd find it fun to try those out. And then I really think about it for a second, and I see some of the graphics, and I'm like, oh!
Maybe some other time.
Maybe a different time, because, boy howdy, I just think that they're so old, I can't wrap my head around it. After experiencing, like, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, it's hard to go back to the real old school things and try to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You realize just how far they've come, not just from the graphics perspective or the technological perspective, but also just from how they organize the user interface and control schemes.
Yeah. Things have come a long way, and we're happy for it.
Yeah, we're happy for it. Also, remember, a lot of those old ones didn't have controller support.
Yeah.
So, something to think about. Lord knows Diablo didn't. So that's good. Hey, if I had had controller support, maybe I could have just used the bumpers or something to actually assign spells. No, that would have been too sensible. So anyway, general takeaway, original Diablo, not so much. Diablo 2, yes.
Sure. And if you have the remaster,
it's not bad.
It's fun. It's not bad.
Not bad.
I might go back and play some of that later.
Yep, not bad. Diablo 3, also not bad.
Pretty great. Actually, I would have preferred had they done Diablo 2 remastered
In
with
style
the engine
of
for Diablo 3
yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Just because the gameplay of Diablo 3 is so much more fast-paced and visceral.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, the only big thing that I did not like about the changes from 3 was how they handled skills.
Sure, and I get that. I totally get that. I mean, they're still decent. There's a lot of options you can have and a lot of stuff to do with them.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I understand why they did it, because that way, when you're playing a class, you unlock all of the options over the course of time through leveling. But I liked in 2 because you got to actually choose your abilities. You got to choose your spells, and you got to actually customize your character throughout that entire run, which I just thought was better, because it means that I can play like a druid, but every druid I play might be a different build than the previous one. And in 3, it's like I played a witch doctor, and my witch doctor is always going to grow out to the exact same thing.
There's only a few builds that people generally do, unless they're trying weird shit, so.
Right, but everything that you can do gets unlocked over, like, every level. You just unlock things automatically, and I was like, that takes a little bit of player agency out of it for me. Which I wasn't a fan of, but not criticism of the game itself, because the game itself was a lot of fun, and I think they did a good job of how they built it. But so yeah, 2 great, 3 pretty darn good, 1 not
sounds about right.
Not terrific. So anyway, just food for thought. Hey, if you like Diablo and you want to tell me I'm wrong, feel free to in the comments. Make a case for me. I'd love to have a case made for the original Diablo, because I could not find it myself.